The King of the Ring tournament continued last night on SmackDown, and Daniel Bryan has promised to reveal the results of his investigation into the mysterious attacks on Roman Reigns. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at your SmackDown Live recap for 20th August 2019's edition, as well as your latest wrestling news. Tonight's episode is coming to you from Denny Sanford Premier Center in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, with David Otunga, Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton calling the matches. Randy Orton starts the show off by talking about how stupid Kofi Kingston is and how the Dreadlock Dynamo's positivity can't match the RKO. In case you missed it, the Revival and Orton broke Xavier Woods' leg after laying out Kofi and Big E. This was kayfabe, of course. Kofi's music plays and Kingston ambushes Orton, laying him out with the Trouble in Paradise. Kofi grabs a chair and goes to Pillmanize Orton, but the Revival save him. Unfortunately for Dawson and Wilder, Kofi vents his fury on them instead. A brief recap airs of the mystery surrounding the backstage attacks on Roman Reigns, as we've seen for the now 900th time. And thereafter, Kevin Owens confronts Shane McMahon backstage about the $100,000 fine Shane O'Mac slapped on Owens last week for assaulting a WWE official who happened to be Elias. KO complains about how this will affect his family and asks Shane to reconsider. The first match of the night is SmackDown's first round match of the King of the Ring tournament between Apollo Crews and Andrade, who's with Zelina Vega. Apollo puts in a strong effort, but a distraction from Vega gives Andrade the advantage he needs, and he finishes Crews with the hammerlock DDT. Andrade advances. Backstage, Roman and Daniel Bryan have a hooded individual in a room, apparently part of their investigation. Backstage, 24/7 champion Elias is looking for Drake Maverick and finds him hiding in a case backstage. Elias reveals the 24/7 rule has been put on hiatus so Elias can compete in his King of the Ring match. He then chokeslams Maverick for his trouble. It's time for a moment of bliss as women's tag team champions Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross welcome Charlotte Flair to the show. Charlotte mocks Bayley and her reign as SmackDown Women's Champion, leading to the hugger coming out and telling Flair she'll take her comments as a challenge and agrees to defend the title at Clash of Champions. Bayley shoves Flair out of her seat, making it clear she's not going to roll over for the Queen. Next up, it's a match between Daniel Bryan and Buddy Murphy, as Daniel Bryan calls Murphy a liar and a coward before the match starts, proving to be a dumb move as this enrages Murphy. The former Cruiserweight Champion overcomes Rowan's presence and defeats Bryan with Murphy's Law. An incredible win for Buddy Murphy. The Revival show up and run down the New Day, challenging them for the SmackDown Tag Team titles and calling them cowards. A lot of cowards on tonight's show. Heavy Machinery show up instead. It's now Heavy Machinery versus the Revival, and Otis and Tucker's power advantage seems to have headed towards victory, but a quick move by Dash Wilder sees him pin Tucker with a schoolboy roll-up as the Revival get the win. Chad Gable talks about his involvement in the King of the Ring and acknowledges he's an underdog. You're not the only one. Nonetheless, he's ready to win it all. Outside, Shelton Benjamin puts a "you must be this tall to participate in the King of the Ring" sign on Gable's door. It's time for Miz TV with Miz's guest Sami Zayn. Miz questions Zayn about his incredible losing streak and Zayn admits it, but says that's about to change because he's going to devote himself to helping others and obtain redemption in doing so. Zayn introduces the first person he'll be helping, Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura. Zayn notes Nakamura can't express himself, so he'll be speaking for him. The A-lister asks Nakamura if this is true, and he points to Zayn. Sami tells The Miz they'll talk to him in the only language he understands, with Nakamura laying Miz out with 2 Kinshasas. The next first round King of the Ring match is Kevin Owens versus Elias, but long behold, Shane McMahon delivers a win to Elias when he shows up and takes off his shirt, revealing a referee's shirt. Owens argues with Elias and the 24/7 champion rolls him up as Shane McMahon makes a lightning fast 3 count. I thought we were done with this Shane O'Mac crap. In the closing segment of SmackDown, Roman Reigns meets with Daniel Bryan to find out the results of Bryan's investigation. Bryan has a hooded individual back with him and unhoods him, revealing what appears to be a double of Rowan. Roman is confused, but apparently not as confused as everybody watching. Also, how did all 4 men keep a straight face during this segment? Come on, they must have taken a couple of takes of this without bursting out in laughter. Anyway, that was the closing segment, and it was a confusing one to say the least. But before we get into the details, let's look at the good, the bad, and the damn right ugly. Let's look at the good first as number 1, Kofi's revenge. Nobody likes to see weak baby faces, and the WWE deserves credit for portraying WWE Champion Kofi Kingston as someone who preaches positivity, but is no man's doormat. Kofi's attack on Randy Orton after Orton's allies the Revival broke Xavier Woods' leg shows Kofi is out for blood and even perhaps a pound of flesh. Kudos for the WWE for building up even more heat for this rivalry. Number 2. Hope for Sami Zayn? Sami's alliance with Shinsuke Nakamura may be the best thing he can get from the WWE right now. Zayn's career has been in the dumpster for so long that no one can take him seriously. With any luck, this will be a turnaround for Zayn's career, but it's puzzling why a talented worker like Zayn is acting as someone's mouthpiece. Number 3. Charlotte vs Bayley. If the WWE wants to continue building Bayley as a credible women's champion, they couldn't have picked a better opponent than the Queen. Yes, she's been inserted into the title picture many times, but Flair is coming fresh off a big win over WWE Hall of Famer Trish Stratus, so it's arguable she never looked stronger. If Bayley can retain against Flair, she'll have turned the corner on rebuilding her image as a legitimate main eventer. And number 4, Murphy Mania. As we discussed in our previous video, the current talk is that the WWE has no long-term plans for Buddy Murphy, who's been enjoying some time in the limelight, apparently by mistakenly being seen as Roman Reigns' attacker. However, Murphy's win over Daniel Bryan could be part of a build-up for his character, and if the fans get behind him, who knows how far he could go. But that was the good. Let's look at the bad. As number 1, more mediocrity. Despite the good segments we mentioned, SmackDown was rather mediocre tonight, with too many backstage segments and no interesting matches to speak of. Last night's angle featuring Randy Orton, The Revival and The New Day should have happened on SmackDown, as there was no water cooler moments on tonight's show. The WWE has to start working to rid SmackDown of its image as a second-rate show, and the only way to do this is with its consistently entertaining shows. Number 2, Shane needs a vacation. Shane McMahon was used well to get Kevin Owens over as a strong blue-collar babyface, but now he seems to be draining the life out of him with his repeated interferences in Owens' matches and career. Losing to Elias did nothing for either Owens or Elias, and the WWE needs to either try some new approaches to building the McMahon/Owens rivalry, or have KO send Shane packing, preferably for a few months. Number 3. Time for Eric Bischoff to step up. Eric Bischoff is reportedly still learning the ropes about a current WWE product before he takes on an active role as SmackDown's executive producer for creative. However, at what point does the WWE either tell Eazy-E to get to working or hire someone to fill in for him until he gets back in the groove, if that's even possible? And number 4, where were the women? While SmackDown featured a moment of bliss, it was sadly lacking in any women's matches. Have Ember Moon, Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, the Kabuki Warriors and the Iconics been swallowed up by the earth? Perhaps the women's revolution is a sham, as several commentators have been arguing. Now, the damn right ugly, as our one and only point is the Roman Reigns reveal, or lack of it. The WWE has been doing such a good job building the mystery of Roman Reigns' assailant that fans couldn't help but wonder if they could pull off a satisfying reveal, or crash and burn in a manner befitting the reveal of who the higher power was. Right now, the WWE has hit a speed bump with the Roman Reigns mystery, and we can only hope this is a red herring before the big reveal. For now, it's an ugly chapter and an otherwise entertaining storyline for the big dog. But that was the good, the bad and the ugly. What about some wrestling news as Ronda Rousey suffers a gruesome injury? As you may recall, Rowdy Ronda will be starring in Fox's drama series 911. However, the baddest woman on the planet almost lost her finger thanks to an injury suffered on the set. Apparently, Rousey had a legitimate 911 situation while acting in the series. She told her fans via Instagram, "So the word is out, I nearly lost my finger shooting 911 on Fox. Freak accident. First take of the day, a boat door fell on my hand. I thought I'd just jam my fingers, so I finished the take before looking. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm used to live audiences and never showing pain unless I'm supposed to. After a break in the action, I told our director the situation and was rushed via ambulance to the hospital, where they promptly reattached my bone and tendon with plate and screws. I returned to filming the next day and finished my scenes before returning home to recover. Modern medicine amazes me. I already had 50% range of motion back in 3 days. There's so much more I can write here. Stay tuned via RondaRousey.com for the full story, and of course tune in to see how well I can act like my finger didn't just fall off in this upcoming season of 911 on Fox. Next up, let's look at the Raw ratings, as this week's Raw didn't do as well as last week's show. PW Insider's Dave Shearer recapped the ratings as follows, as the 19th August edition of Raw brought in 2.534 million overnight viewers, down from last week's 2.729 million overnight viewers. Unfortunately, this time it was hour 3 that suffered the most, as there was a 200,000 plus drop in that hour. It's arguable that last week's Raw was hit and miss and did give the impression that Raw is must-see TV again. Now, next story, will NXT performers get pay rises? With the WWE reportedly getting at least $50 million a year to air NXT on the USA Network, one might think the stars of NXT would get a pay rise. However, the current talk is that any pay rise won't be immediate, and it might not be as much as you'd expect for the stars of NXT graduating to primetime. Ringside News reported that NXT stars are expected to get a bump in pay, but it won't be much. Later on, we reported that NXT superstars probably won't be seeing any increase in their paychecks for at least 6 months. Fightful.com also noted, NXT talent haven't been informed of any financial reimbursement based on getting on the USA Network. And our last story looks at the Queen of the Ring. The WWE's Women Revolution has led to a Women's Royal Rumble and a Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Could there be another edition? During an appearance on the KSFY morning show, SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley made the case for a women's version of the King of the Ring tournament. When you're a fan like me who has watched for years, it was something that was taken away. It was like, dang, that was one of the coolest shows. There's so much pressure on all the guys. There's so much history to it. The fact that they brought it back is a dream come true for a lot of those guys. We kinda want a Queen of the Ring. If you guys could make that happen, I would love that. But there you have it guys, your SmackDown recap for the 20th August 2019 edition, as well as the latest WWE wrestling news. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.